What happens at a tax sale? By the end of this video, you're going to know from an industry insider who's been bidding on tax sales for many years how tax sales work. And as a bonus, I'm going to show you a hidden opportunity that I didn't figure out until I'd been bidding at tax sales for almost 15 years. And stay tuned till the end because I'm going to give you access to a free resource where you can learn all the details about that. Pay careful attention during this episode because today I'm going to show you something you absolutely have to do so that you don't get locked out on the day of the auction and be all prepared and unable to bid. I'm going to show you how the pros prepare for tax sales and a really surprising reason that they do a lot of their preparation at the last minute so that you can bid like a pro. And learn about the amazing and obviously crazy opportunity to make money at tax sales on properties that you never buy, meaning properties that some other person bid on, put all the money down on, and in some circumstances, you can make more money than they make on the deal, and you don't have to deal with the headaches of a property with renovations, contractors, etc. None of that. Really simple, really amazing, and this little niche of an opportunity that you are absolutely going to love. At tax sale auction, properties are sold to the highest bidder. Now these are conducted both in person in the courthouse and just voice bidding, and also these days a lot of them are online, which is super convenient because you can buy tax sales all over the country and you don't have to rush down to the courthouse and get there. Really easy, you can just sit at home and do it or sit in your office and do it. There are really great deals. Just for example, here's a property that I bought for $4,000. Yes, a standing property. It was occupied in pretty decent shape for $4,000, and even in the sort of raggedy neighborhood it was in and the condition it was in, it was still worth more than 15 times that the day I bought it. And oh yeah, let me show you my very first deal. This is a little piece of land that I bought for $3,000 and I've resold it and made $12,000, made 4 times my money with a little teeny tiny investment. And the thing about tax sales is, yes, $12,000 may not be a lot in one deal, but you start multiplying that deal after deal after deal, and all of a sudden you can make a lot of money without a lot of investment. So these sales are a really exciting opportunity, but they're definitely not for the uneducated. So I want to give you some of the education to get started. So first of all, your number one thing to know, you have to register in advance for almost all these sales these days. The days when you can just, show up online or you can just show up at the courthouse, you get a bidder number and just go up, that's done. You can't do that anymore. They're having people register in advance. So make sure when you're thinking about going to a tax sale, look at the rules of the auction. Usually they're going to require pre-registration, generally even a week or two before the sale, where you're going to give your information, all your like if you're buying an LLC or buying your personal name, usually refundable, but a small deposit, ACH information so you can send the money. You also are often having to certify that you're not in violation of a bunch of building and housing codes. They've taken the point where they don't want people who don't handle the real estate well to buy more real estate. So for example, if you have building code violations that are uncorrected, they're not going to let you bid at the sale. So all those things are clearly laid out in the terms of sale, but make sure for the sale that you're going to, you get those terms of sale, you read them, and you fill in the form that's going to be required to pre-register, and you do that far in advance. You don't want to let that go to the last minute because again, you could do all this work, get prepared, and be locked out of the sale. So that's your first tip. Please check carefully on any pre-registration requirements and fulfill on them. The second thing to know is that these sales go quickly, meaning like they're doing this 123 Main Street up for sale. Now it's not like you see, in an auction online where it's guys going blah, 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 blah. It's not that. But they do go very quickly. We're saying next up for sale, parcel number, blah, 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 blah. Any, opening bid 16,000, any bidders. A lot of times they don't only give the address of the property, they just give the tax identification number, which can be called the parcel number or the folio number. So you have to have your list pre-printed. For me, I pre-print the list and I just check off the properties as they go because they will go in the same order as the sale list, but they'll also skip over properties. They skip over properties because often someone either pays their taxes at the very last minute or they file bankruptcy at the last minute, or it gets pulled from the sale because they have some issue, like they can't prove that they did service. So things skip. So you have to be like on the ball with that. You can't be fumbling around with paper. So please print out the sale list and just follow it down. What I do on my sale list is I write down my maximum bid on each property. And as I go, I'm looking, all right, here's the parcel number, here's the property, there's my maximum bid. I don't exceed it. One of the things you have to be careful of in these auctions is don't get bidder's fever. Set your maximum bid, and if it exceeds it, just bite your tongue, don't say anything more, and don't buy. The purpose here is not to get a property. The purpose is to get a good deal on a property so you can meet your secondary goal, which I assume is making some money. And if you want to pay full price for properties, please just go through a realtor. It's easier, you'll get a better selection of properties, and you can get traditional financing. So what I don't want you to do is just get so excited, like that guy's not getting the property from me. Smart bidders are patient. You get the property when the moment is right, when the deal is right. If it's not right, just understand that, let it go. You don't want to sort of throw good time and money after bad time and money, meaning you've done a bunch of due diligence to check out the properties, but what you don't want to do is then just be so ego-filled and anxious to get a property, just bid whatever you want to bid. Don't do that. There are good deals, I promise you. Just be patient. A lot of times the good deals are towards the end of the list because people who have let themselves get overly excited run out of money. So oftentimes some of the last ones are absolutely the best deals at those auctions. So often the ones sold last can be by far the best deals at the auction. So please be patient, my friend. Now, the successful, sophisticated bidders spend their time on due diligence. Now, what does that mean? It means checking out the properties and making sure that you know what kind of work does it need, what do houses go for in the neighborhood, is it occupied or not. You want to know those things because you get this property and it's yours. You don't get to bid on it and then do an inspection and then decide if you want to follow through. Typically you bid on it, you pay for it in full, and it's yours. And if it turns out to be a useless strip of land or a place that's been fire damaged that you didn't realize from the outside, there are no refunds. It's just, you bought it, it's yours. So you have to be careful. So what smart bidders do is they do due diligence. Now let's talk about what's involved with that. Due diligence, first and foremost, involves looking at the property. So as a preliminary matter, what I do with the sale list is I get the sale list and I'm going to first just look using Google Street View. Now Google Street View, they've mapped pretty much the whole United States. You can drive literally over the computer, drive down a street and look at the street, look at the houses around it, and look at the house that is going up for sale. Now that doesn't mean it was a picture taken yesterday. It obviously wasn't. But what I do with that is when I first get the list, I'm going to cross off properties that I have no interest in because in looking at them on Google Street View, I don't like the street or I don't like the property. So I just cross those off. The idea is to eliminate properties you don't want. So I do that. That's the first step. The second step is make sure you do due diligence on the sale, knowing what, if any, liens are still going to be left over on the property. Now, in all of these sales, IRS liens will survive for 120 days. What that means is that the IRS for 120 days can come back, reimburse you for your bid, and take over. They very rarely do that, but what smart bidders do is you're not going to do any work on that property until the IRS does not redeem. So you're going to check to see if there are any IRS liens on a property that you buy at the tax sale. And then if there are, you're essentially letting it sit there for 120 days. Or you can do an advanced strategy, which is to ask the IRS for a release. That's a little in depth for this video. I did another video where I talk about buying at tax sales, and I talk about that. I'll have the editor put a link to it up above. So if you want to check that out, you can check that out next. One of the things that happens at these sales is the sale lists start out pretty big. You can see a couple lists I'll put up as an example. So a sale list that is, say, 500 properties. By the time you come down to the auction, you're probably going to have 20 to 30 properties that you'd be interested in bidding on because they're in an area you're interested in, it's a property you're interested in. Because the vast majority of the properties, people at the last minute are going to pay their taxes or they're going to file bankruptcy to put off the sale. They're going to do something to stop that sale. So you don't want to run around driving by properties and seeing them until you get closer to the auction. So the way that it works is typically about a week before the auction, people really go hot and heavy, paying the taxes, entering into agreements. The county will update the list to show you which ones are still scheduled to be sold. So what you want to do, starting about a week before the sale, pull the list every day, cross off the ones that are no longer going to be sold, and you want to be driving by properties that are going to be sold. Depends how many properties you have. Usually I try to drive by them in the last 2 or 3 days prior to the sale because that's when the list is really going to be winnowed down, because by 2 or 3 days, people are paying taxes like crazy. So that list that maybe a week out is 150 properties now has dropped to 60 properties. It really drops. And what I'm doing is I'm just looking to eliminate properties that I'm interested in. And then in the 2 or 3 days prior to the auction, I'm going to go out and drive the properties and see them. I want to look at them from the outside. And there's no open house with these properties. They're not, there's no opportunity for you to tour the properties. So you can only assess what you can assess from driving by it on the street, or if you're feeling bold, like I do, I go knock on the door, see if anybody's home, and talk to them and try to get some idea of what condition the house is in. I'll peek in the windows next to the door. I'm not going to go like peeping Tom around the whole house, but I want to assess as much as I can, because these houses, remember, they're going for tax sale, which means someone hasn't paid the taxes for 3 or 4 years. They also aren't paying to maintain the property. That roof is leaking, it's still leaking. If there was a fire in the house and nobody's living there, that's going to have a whole bunch of damage to it. So you have to understand there's no warranty, there's no inspection. So the trade is you get houses very cheaply. I'm expecting to get houses for half price or less at these sales, even inclusive of a fix-up cost. So, sort of the trade is you don't get full inspection, but you get it cheaply enough that it probably all works out in the end. When you look at it from the street, a couple of things. Be sure to look at the roof line, make sure it's straight and even. If you see like bowing in the roof or any irregularity, that's a bad sign of foundation problems, probably not a house you want to be involved in. Also look at the openings for the doors and especially the windows. If they're racked, meaning sort of like a parallelogram instead of square or a rectangle, also a sign of a foundation problem, sign of a house you don't want. It's problematic. If you see any neighbors around while you're driving by, ask them about it. Say, hey, I'm looking at that house, it's going up for sale. You know anything about it? Neighbors love to talk about the houses. So if someone's out, please chat them up a little bit, find out about the house. They probably know the story. They probably know about the condition, and that's going to get you great insight. So back to what happens at the tax sale. The tax sale itself is kind of the afterthought. It's the most exciting and fun part because you're there bidding either on your computer or live, getting great deals. If you pursue this the way I'm talking about, you'll get some great deals, get some amazing properties. And properties in most places are offered month after month. You can get great deals, great way to acquire properties, but it's not cost-free. You have to expend the time in due diligence and checking out the properties, checking out the sale. I would suggest for your first sale, just go to the sale and watch. You can watch it online if it's an online sale. You can go to the courthouse and watch it. That's a lot of fun anyway. You want to get the lay of the land and understand how quickly the auctioneer goes, how things are arranged before you're actually bidding with real money. So it definitely pays to do that. And also educate yourself on the risks of tax sales. There are lots of risks. For example, if someone files a bankruptcy after the tax sale, a lot of times that ties up your money. You'll get your money back, but it takes a long time, and you may be paid over time. I bid on a property like that where I bought the property for $9,000 at the tax sale. It was nice. It was a triplex, so I was really excited about it. But the person filed bankruptcy the next day, and what ended up happening was I ended up getting my money back as they made payments in their bankruptcy plan. I still got my money back. That was fine. Didn't get my triplex for $9,000, which I was sad about, but that's okay because you're going to get your money back or you're going to get an amazing deal. So this is definitely something worthwhile doing, but it's not something just walk in, not knowledgeable. And I actually have 2 resources I'll give you. Number 1 resource, I'll put a link up here. I did a video with a friend of mine who is a world-class expert at buying a tax sale. He's been doing this business since the 1990s, so a very, very long time. He teaches the business. He's great at teaching people. He does this all over the country. That's what he's actively doing. He's bought thousands and thousands of properties. Great guy. I sat down with him, so you can watch that YouTube video for us sort of sitting down, talking shop, and you can learn about that. And if you want to go further, he has a whole educational system to do that. Very modestly priced and really great education. Definitely a guy that I vouch for. The second opportunity I want to give to you is that I do something called the overages business. And that's where the property sells for more than the taxes that were due. The county takes the taxes that were due, but anything left over is claimable by the former owner or one of the creditors. So it's a great way to make some money. You don't have any of the complexity. You don't have to worry about conditions or if the roof is bad or whatever, because the bidder put up their money at the tax sale. They put in the money. They have to deal with the house, with any repairs that are needed, any zoning problems, whatever. They deal with all of that. Overages is a really clean business where there's just this little pile of money that people have no idea is there. I'll explain that on the video. But trust me, people have no idea it's there. You show up saying, hey, I found some money that you owe. Would you be interested in working with me for a percentage? I'll go get the money. And lots of people are interested because they need money. Let's face it, they lost their house at tax sale. Finances are not their strong point at this point in their life. So people can be really happy. It's a great feel-good business. I like it because I think it's funny. I make more money at tax sale often than all the men and women that put their hard-earned cash down to buy a property and take a chance. So I love it. I absolutely love this business, and you may too. So I recorded a video on that. It's free. 10 to 15 minutes, you can learn all about the business. And from there, you can even learn if you want to go deeper and actually get involved with the business. There's a chance to do that. But go watch the 10 to 15 minute video. Link's right up there. It's really a cool business that can be like a little secret niche that only you know about, and where you can make more money than everybody else at the tax sale and not do even half the work and not come up with any money. So I think it's a really cool business that you definitely want to check out. So this is attorney and investor Bob Diamond. Glad to have you here. Hope that this was useful, and I will see you on the next video.